This is part 2 of the TKW screencast. In part 1 I demonstrated how TKW was installed, the directory structure and the various modes of TKW. In this part I will demonstrate how these various modes work. We'll see how to transmit, receive messaging and validate messages. In the demonstration, I'm going to use two instances of TKW. One is TKW client, and one instance will be the TKW host. But typically, only one will be required as a counterparty to the system under test. So if your system under test is working as a client, you'll only need TKW running as a host, and vice versa. To start off with, we'll need to decide which domain we're going to use. I'll be using ADT. First of all, we'll want two properties files, one for the client and one for the host. Firstly, if I open up the client, what we'll need to do, referring back to the diagram, is it needs to send messages on 4001. So if we go down to the send URL, we can change that to 4001 sync SOAP. This is a synchronous message we're sending. Save that. And back, the host we want to set up listening on 4001. Open up the host. I'll change this to 4001. Both the properties will be in order now. First thing we need to do is start the simulator. So if it's a command line instruction. We'll need to go up 2 levels. Simulator. And we need to choose the simulator will be the host. So the host properties, I'll set that off. So it's now saying that it's listening on localhost 4001. Next thing to do is to choose the message we're going to send. If we go into the contrib directories under test messages, we'll be able to see here HL7v2, and I'm going to send just a synchronous XML payload, although pipe and hat conversions are available. I take that message and place a copy into transmitter source. I can now send it from the client to the host. I'll just show the diagram again. I'll start off the client, which is the transmitter, which will send the request to the host, and the host will then respond back under the guidance of the rules that it has, and it will be sending back a simple message response. Start off another command. The 2 levels to find TKW, and this is in transmit mode now, and we're wanting to use the client rule set, property set. It's now transmitted, and transmitted successfully. We'll check the host. if we go back into our config directory, we can first of all look at the logs. We'll see there's two logs. One of the logs will be for the host, and the other log will be for the client. You can see that it's sent the message. If we now go into the transmitter sent message directory, we'll see that the log there should outline the cancel leave of absence message that we chose from the store. If we go to the bottom, we'll see that it's transmitted 200 OK, and here we see is the simple message response. So the message at the top is that which has been transmitted, and the message at the bottom is that which has been received. This is looking from the client system. If we now have a look at the simulator save messages, this will show us the transaction from the point of view of the host. We see the incoming cancel leave of absence message from the client, the inbound message, and here is the outbound message, the simple message response that we saw in the other log. So we can tell, if we go back to the original diagram, that the message has been sent from client to host, and the response, the simple message, has been sent back to the client. Now, if we were to suppose that the system under test was the client system and the TKW system was the host system, we might want to validate the incoming message from the client to the host. This can be done by going into the simulator save messages, that's the host incoming message. We could take a copy of this and place it in the messages for validation. We're going to just have to open it up and remove the HTTP part, and if we go to the bottom of the message, we want to remove the response. But now we've got the message which was sent from our system under test, the client system, to the TKW host system. So we go to the command line, start Java, use the validate mode and the host set of properties. We can now run the validation. It's completed, and if we look in the validator reports, we'll be able to see there that we've got one report. If we open up that report, we can see here that it's validated one file, 21 checks, 21 passes. So if we have a look at the checks that it's performed, there are some which are just XPath checks to check that certain elements or attributes are populated, others which are more pattern matching, and others still which are schema checks. The distribution envelope has been schema checked there, and XSLTs which have been run, for example the blank attribute checker. So here we can see that the incoming message, the message from our system under test, which we have said was the client system, has been validated and shown that it passes the validation. Multiple validations can be run at once, and the validation summary would show more than one file validated here. Remember that all the functionalities explained in the TKW guide, which is situated here, and there's also a quick start guide at the end of this.